There was a time not long ago when Red Bull Racing's dominance in Formula One felt almost eternal. Max Verstappen wasn't just winning, he was rewriting the record books. Week after week, circuit after circuit, it felt like no one could touch him. But Hungary 2025 shattered that illusion with a cruel kind of finality. Verstappen, finishing ninth on merit, wasn't just a disappointing result. It was a moment of reckoning for a team that had grown so accustomed to being the hunter, only to now realize it had become the hunted. Verstappen himself has admitted it repeatedly. He's not in championship contention. With only 10 races remaining and a 97-point deficit to McLaren's Oscar Piastri, a fifth consecutive title isn't just unlikely, it's all but impossible. And even more concerning, George Russell, in a resurgent Mercedes, is only 15 points behind Verstappen and closing fast. This isn't just about falling short of a championship. This is about Red Bull falling into competitive irrelevance, a one-car team, failing to make any meaningful impact in the constructors' standings, going into the summer break off the back of a performance that looked more like a midfield struggler than a title contender. Hungary wasn't an anomaly. It was a continuation of a disturbing trend, and it revealed just how deep the cracks run in this once impenetrable empire. The team had already seen the warning signs, which is why Christian Horner was shockingly removed mid-season. But even with a new leader Laurent Mekies at the helm, Hungary proved Red Bull's problems are far bigger than one man. Mekies has admitted the team is not underestimating the mountain ahead, but the truth is, Hungary caught even them off guard. From the very first session, both Verstappen and teammate Yuki Tsunoda were lost. Verstappen, known for bending the most stubborn cars to his will, had no answer for the lack of grip. No matter how many setup changes the team made, there was no direction, no turnaround. This wasn't like Japan or Imola earlier in the season where tricky Fridays gave way to stunning race wins. This time, the car never came alive. Verstappen's worst qualifying of the year led to his worst race finish, and not because of mistakes or misfortune, but because the car simply wasn't competitive. When even the reigning champion is left saying, "If we knew what the problem was, we would have fixed it," that's a sign of a team that has lost control of its destiny. The magic is gone, and the margin for error has disappeared. Hungary wasn't just about Red Bull's failure, was about McLaren's brilliance. The Hungaroring, with its relentless medium-speed corners and demand for aerodynamic consistency, became the stage where Red Bull's limitations were not only exposed, but brutally magnified. The layout, which rewards cars with mechanical grip and stable tire performance through corners ranging from 95 to 135 miles per hour, revealed just how narrow Red Bull's operational window really is. And it was Max Verstappen himself who admitted, with a sense of awe, McLaren is killing them in these very sections. This isn't just about one track. Medium-speed corners make up the majority of Formula One's modern circuit. They demand a delicate balance between front-end precision and rear stability, something McLaren has mastered and Red Bull has clearly not. Verstappen's comments were telling. He singled out the McLaren's front-end responsiveness and how it maintains balance without sacrificing rear grip, that allows drivers like Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris to rotate the car aggressively through critical sections, gaining precious tenths. In Hungary's Q2 session, Verstappen lost over 2 tenths in just 3 corners to the lead McLaren. Another tenth vanished in the final bend. The only areas where Max held an advantage, 2 high-speed corners, but high-speed turns are rare and short. It's the medium-speed sectors that make or break a lap, and Red Bull is nowhere there. Tire warm-up was another nightmare. Both Verstappen and Tsunoda struggled to get the tires into their optimal operating window, a mechanical issue that feeds into a wider aerodynamic failure. Every tweak, every adjustment they made to find that elusive grip only sent the car further into imbalance. And what was even more painful? The contrast. McLaren didn't just outperform Red Bull, they outdeveloped them. Andrea Stella, team boss, had pointed out months ago that their car was being engineered specifically to dominate these types of tracks. Their 2025 car isn't just fast, surgically precise. Red Bull, meanwhile, has become a victim of compromise. Forced to choose between rear tire, longevity, and qualifying pace, they've ended up with neither. The car balance often drifts into a no-man's land under steering and qualifying, then eating through tires in the race. And unlike earlier in the season, there was no Verstappen miracle to save them this time. That's because Red Bull hasn't just lost performance, they've lost understanding. If you can't explain the problem, you can't fix it. And when your rivals are developing around your weaknesses, the gap only grows. What McLaren has achieved in 2025 isn't just fast, it's fundamentally intelligent. They've built a car that understands the physics of modern Formula One better than any of its rivals. The concept began in late 2023 when McLaren realized their car, while competitive, was too dependent on high downforce tracks. Silverstone, Suzuka, Interlagos, those were strongholds. But at circuits requiring more balanced setups, like Hungary or Mexico, they were exposed. So they went back to the drawing board and redefined their aerodynamic philosophy, and that change wasn't superficial, it was surgical. McLaren's engineers didn't just aim for more downforce, they aimed for adaptable downforce. They studied how airflow reacts to different yaw angles, the way the car rotates through varying corners. They modeled the impact of ride height changes, which in this generation of F1 car are critical due to ground effect. In high-speed corners, the car is sucked close to the track, maximizing grip. In low speed, the ride height lifts, changing the aerodynamic profile entirely. Most teams can't handle both extremes well. McLaren can, and that's because they've designed their car to manage the complexities of airflow direction, rotation rate, steering angle, and how all of it affects tire performance and chassis balance. Andrea Stella described it best at the start of the season. Aerodynamic performance isn't about generating maximum grip, it's about controlling it. And McLaren's 2025 car doesn't just generate grip, it dictates when and how that grip is delivered. That's the real difference. Red Bull, by contrast, still relies on a car that performs brilliantly within a narrow set of conditions. But step outside of that, like in Hungary, and it becomes completely unpredictable. The floor stalls, the tires don't warm up, the balance shifts uncontrollably, and not even Verstappen can recover. Another key factor is McLaren's subtle, continuous upgrade strategy. Unlike in 2023, where they waited and launched major packages, mid-season, McLaren now introduces constant micro-updates, small tweaks to suspension geometry, revised front and rear wing elements, even tiny underbody changes, all designed to refine how the car feels, rotates, and reacts across different tracks. These aren't headline-grabbing upgrades, but they're death by 1,000 paper cuts for rivals like Red Bull, who still haven't figured out what's fundamentally wrong. And that's why McLaren isn't just faster, they're ahead in understanding. Their car works at more tracks, in more conditions, and with more predictability. It's not just about pace anymore, it's about confidence. Red Bull is still trying to stabilize its car. McLaren is already extracting the maximum. Red Bull has been far from idle this season. In fact, they've introduced more aerodynamic upgrades than any other team on the grid. New front wings, rear wings, side pods, floor designs, diffuser, tweaks, you name it. And on paper, these changes do work. The data shows small gains in straight-line speed, improved drag efficiency, even better high-speed cornering under certain conditions. But here's the problem. Those gains are marginal, and they don't address the deeper structural limitations of Red Bull's 2025 car. Verstappen's form tells the story. Over the first 7 races, he averaged nearly 18 points per weekend, equivalent to a second-place finish every time. But in the 7 races since, that average has dropped to 12.2. That's a 32% drop-off in performance, and it's not because Verstappen forgot how to drive. It's because the car is still unpredictable. In high-speed circuits like Silverstone or Spa, Verstappen is competitive, sometimes even winning. But the moment F1 returns to a track with mixed cornering demands, everything falls apart. The team has admitted it. The upgrades work, but not in a way that transforms the car. The core issue remains balance. Verstappen continues to say, the car isn't where I need it to be, and that should be deeply worrying. If a driver like Max, arguably the most technically astute on the grid, can't feel confident in his car, then no upgrade, no matter how expensive, can solve that. It's not just about speed anymore. It's about consistency, and Red Bull doesn't have it. Meanwhile, McLaren continues to refine its package quietly. Unlike Red Bull's big, visible upgrades, McLaren's philosophy is about internal refinement, making the car easier to drive, more forgiving, and less dependent on track characteristics. That's why they're thriving in races where Red Bull flounders. It's also why Red Bull's upgrades, though numerous, feel reactive rather than strategic. They're trying to fix symptoms instead of curing the disease. It's a bitter pill to swallow for a team that was once untouchable. The frustration inside Red Bull is clear. Verstappen knows he's losing ground. The engineers know their fixes aren't closing the gap, and McLaren, they're not waiting. They're pulling further away. For the first time in years, Red Bull is no longer setting the pace, it's reacting to it. And Max Verstappen, for all his composure, knows this isn't sustainable. He's contracted with Red Bull until 2028, but everyone in the paddock knows there are exit clauses. His loyalty isn't unconditional. It's built on performance, and right now, Red Bull isn't delivering. Still, Verstappen has shown signs of renewed faith in the new team boss Laurent Mekies. When asked if Mekies was asking the right questions and pushing for the right changes, Verstappen responded emphatically, absolutely. That says a lot. Max isn't just chasing short-term wins anymore. He's looking at the team's structure, its leadership, and its vision for the future. He wants to be part of a project that evolves, not one that stagnates. And Red Bull's internal politics, especially under the now-departed Christian Horner, were holding that back. The power struggles, the infighting, the dysfunction, those cracks were becoming more visible than ever. Horner's surprise dismissal wasn't just about performance. It was about culture. And Verstappen, even if he wasn't the one pulling strings, was clearly waiting for something to shift. Now, with Mekies at the helm, there's a real chance to rebuild. But it won't be quick. Verstappen has already accepted that 2025 is a lost cause. The real question is whether Red Bull can position itself for a comeback in 2026 and beyond. That will require not just better upgrades, but a better understanding of what Formula One has become. This era is about adaptability. It's about mastering the full spectrum of cornering speeds, not just dominating one track type. If Red Bull can't evolve their concept, they won't just lose titles, they'll lose Verstappen. Max wants to stay. He's said it many times. He loves the idea of being a one-team driver, spending his whole career with Red Bull, but admiration only goes so far. In F1, results speak loudest. And Hungary 2025 was deafening, the lowest point of the Verstappen-Red Bull era. Now, the team stands at a crossroads. The next step will determine more than just the rest of this season. It could decide the future of their greatest asset. If you believe F1 is in the midst of a generational shift, and you want to keep following these critical turning points, then like this video, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. What should Red Bull do next? Because from this point forward, the margin for error is gone.